Monaco, a glittering jewel on the Mediterranean coast, is famous for wealth and beauty, but beneath the glamour lies a far greater secret. This small nation holds the highest life expectancy in the world, nearly 90 years. Here, men live longer, healthier, and sharper than almost anywhere else on Earth. What allows them to thrive well into their 80s and beyond? The answer is not found in expensive treatments or miracle pills. It is hidden in the daily rhythms of men like André, an 85-year-old Monaco resident who still walks with steady strength, eats with quiet wisdom, and closes each day with gratitude. His habits are not complicated. In fact, they are so simple that any man in America over 60 can begin adopting them right now. Habits that protect the heart, sharpen the mind, and bring more energy and connection into daily life. Before we dive into André's day, I'd love to invite you to subscribe for more inspiring stories like this. Like and share this video to spread the message. And most importantly, leave a comment with your biggest health struggle after 60. I'll be reading and replying because your journey matters too. Now, let us step into the quiet streets of Monaco at dawn, where André begins his morning. Here, in the first meal of his day, we discover the first secret to his long and vibrant life. Morning, eating the Mediterranean way. The morning in Monaco begins softly, with the Mediterranean Sea glowing under the early light. At 85, André still greets each day with a steady rhythm. He leaves his apartment as the city is just waking and makes his way down the narrow cobblestone streets toward the open-air market near the harbor. The air carries the scent of salt and bread fresh from the oven, a mix that has filled these streets for generations. The market itself is alive with color and sound. Fishermen arrange their catch of the day's sardines and mackerel, their scales shining silver in the sunlight. Farmers from the hills bring baskets of tomatoes, peppers, olives, and leafy greens. Bakers line wooden shelves with loaves of bread, still warm to the touch. For many, shopping might be a quick errand, but for André, it is part of the ritual of living well. Every choice he makes here is deliberate, a quiet act of caring for himself. He selects only what he needs: a handful of greens, a couple of ripe tomatoes, a bottle of golden olive oil from a family he has bought from for decades, and a small loaf of whole grain bread. He does not stockpile or overindulge. What he carries home is enough, and it is always fresh. Back at his table, breakfast takes shape in the simplest way: a slice of bread drizzled with olive oil, topped with tomato, a small wedge of cheese, a piece of fruit figs when they are in season, or perhaps an orange from across the sea in Spain. He finishes with a cup of coffee, strong and black, with nothing added. To a casual eye, this might appear plain, yet hidden in this simplicity is the quiet foundation of his longevity. Science now confirms what people around the Mediterranean have long lived by instinct. This way of eating protects the heart, sharpens the mind, and lowers the risk of disease. Olive oil provides healthy fats that shield the arteries. Fish offers omega-3s that ease inflammation and keep the brain alert. Vegetables and fruits bring antioxidants, fiber, and vitamins that sustain balance inside the body. Even the occasional glass of red wine at dinner has compounds that support circulation. Each part of the meal contributes something small, but together they build a strong defense that allows men like André to remain vibrant well into their 80s. What strikes most about André's breakfast is not the ingredients alone, but the restraint. In America, it is common to begin the day with heavy plates bacon, sausage, buttered biscuits, or cereals heavy with sugar. Such meals weigh down the body instead of lifting it. Many believe that changing their health requires drastic diets or costly programs. But André's life proves the opposite. Real change begins with substitutions so modest they are almost invisible. Butter was replaced with olive oil, white bread traded for whole grain, bacon was swapped for fish, a piece of fruit was added to the plate. These choices are simple, but when repeated day after day, they shape the course of a life. For men who live alone, this way of eating carries another gift. It is easy. A slice of bread, a drizzle of olive oil, a tomato cut in half, these are not complicated tasks. They do not require hours in the kitchen or expensive ingredients. Health is not built on perfection, but on consistency. And consistency is something any man, in any circumstance, can begin to practice. As André eats, he sits by the window, looking out toward the sea. The boats drift slowly from the harbor, the sunlight spreading wider across the water. He eats without hurry, without distraction, honoring his body with every bite. In this small ritual, he sets the tone for the entire day, a tone of calm, balance, and quiet strength. The lesson for men over 60 is clear. Longevity is not hidden in a secret formula. It begins here, at the breakfast table, in choices so small they can be overlooked. But those choices, repeated with care, create lives that are not only longer, but better. Before we move on, I'd love to hear from you. What is one morning habit that gives you energy or peace to start your day? Share it in the comments. I'll be reading and replying. And if you find value in André's story so far, please take a moment to subscribe, like, and share this video with someone who could use a little inspiration, because André's morning is only the beginning. As the day unfolds, he steps back outside into Monaco's sunlit streets, where walking and connection with friends become just as important as the food he eats. And in that next chapter, we'll discover why simple movement and companionship might be the strongest medicine of all. Noon. Walking and social connection. With breakfast finished and the dishes tidied away, André steps once more into the streets of Monaco. By now, the quiet hush of dawn has shifted into the slower rhythm of midday. The market stalls are less crowded, the fishermen's voices more subdued, and the sunlight warmer against the pastel-colored buildings that climb the hillside. André pulls a light jacket over his shoulders and begins his walk. His destination is not far, just a familiar park near the edge of the old town, where the sea breeze drifts up from the harbor and tall plane trees spread their shade across stone benches. This has been his routine for decades, a steady walk toward friendship, toward movement, toward life. The path itself matters as much as the destination. He takes his time, his gait measured but confident. Sometimes he pauses to admire flowers blooming in balcony boxes. Other times he exchanges a warm word with a shopkeeper sweeping the front of a cafe. The cobblestones are uneven, but he has learned how to move with them, each step an affirmation that his legs still carry him, that his body still answers to his will. By the time he reaches the park, 2 or 3 of his friends have gathered. Like André, they are in their 70s and 80s, men who have weathered long lives in Monaco. Their faces brighten when they see him. They shake hands firmly, clap one another on the back, and sit together in the cool shade. Sometimes they play a slow game of chess, their moves deliberate, punctuated with laughter. Other times they simply watch children run across the grass, their conversation wandering through old stories and shared memories. For André, this ritual is as nourishing as any meal. The walk itself ensures his body stays in motion, his joints supple, his circulation strong. The friendships ensure his spirit remains lifted, his sense of belonging intact. He does not count his steps with a device, nor measure his time with a stopwatch. Yet, on most days, by the time he returns home, he has walked between 6,000 and 8,000 steps, exactly the range scientists now say dramatically lowers the risk of heart disease and early death for men over 60. It is a quiet kind of medicine, but perhaps the most powerful kind. Walking, research shows, does more than keep the heart strong. It sharpens the mind, increasing blood flow to the brain. It reduces stress, lowering cortisol levels that quietly erode health. It strengthens bones, making falls less likely. It even boosts mood, releasing endorphins that act as natural antidepressants. And unlike strenuous exercise, walking asks little of the body beyond showing up and moving. Yet what makes André's routine remarkable is that he does not walk alone. His friends are as essential as the steps themselves. Science has only recently begun to quantify what human beings have always known in their hearts. Loneliness is deadly. Researchers now compare chronic isolation to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. For men over 60 in America, especially those who live alone, the risk of loneliness is alarmingly high. And with it comes a cascade of health problems: higher blood pressure, weaker immunity, greater risk of depression, even shortened lifespan. But when André sits beneath the plane trees with his companions, he defies that fate. Their conversations keep his mind sharp. Their laughter lightens his heart. Their presence reminds him that he belongs to something larger than himself. This is not only friendship, it is medicine for the soul. For men in America, the lesson is both encouraging and practical. You do not need to walk 10,000 steps a day, nor gather a large crowd of companions. What matters is consistency and connection. A short walk around the neighborhood after lunch, a visit to a local park, a phone call to invite a friend for coffee, and a stroll. These small acts restore both body and spirit. Picture it. You finish your meal, slip on a pair of comfortable shoes, and step outside. The sun warms your face, the air feels fresh, and your legs loosen with each stride. You pass familiar houses, hear birdsong overhead, and wave to a neighbor across the street. These moments may feel ordinary, but they carry extraordinary power. They tether you back to life, back to the world around you, back to the simple joys that aging sometimes obscures. By the time André leaves the park and makes his way home, the day has shifted toward afternoon. His body feels looser, his mood lighter, his mind clearer. No single step made the difference. No single laugh preserved his health, but together, they form a pattern that has sustained him for 85 years. And this is the heart of his lesson. Strength in old age is not preserved through sudden bursts of effort, but through small, repeated choices. The steady rhythm of walking, the steady bond of friendship. For men over 60 in America, especially those living alone, André's example is both an invitation and a reminder. Life can still be full, connected, and strong if you take the steps, and if you take them together. As the Mediterranean sun begins to soften and the shadows lengthen, André returns home. Soon he will turn to another practice, one that preserves his independence and resilience against the weight of years. The gentle strengthening of his body, a quiet discipline that keeps him steady on his feet and free in his life. Afternoon, gentle strength and resilience. By the time André returns from his midday walk, the streets of Monaco are basking in the golden light of early afternoon. The harbor shimmers below, yachts rocking gently, and the cafes begin to fill with tourists lingering over late lunches. André steps back into his apartment, greeted by the familiar coolness of stone walls that have sheltered him for decades. He does not collapse into a chair, though many his age might. Instead, he turns to another ritual, one that has quietly safeguarded his independence for years: the practice of gentle strength. His living room is small but tidy. In one corner rests a pair of hand weights, no more than 5 pounds each. A resistance band hangs neatly on a hook, and a sturdy wooden chair sits ready. There is nothing flashy here, no expensive equipment, no machines. Yet this simple setup is enough to keep his muscles alive and his balance steady. André begins with a few stretches, raising his arms overhead, rolling his shoulders, bending slowly at the waist. Then, with weights in hand, he performs a set of curls. Not fast, not heavy, but steady and controlled. He lifts the weights above his head, lowers them carefully, then shifts to squats using the chair for balance. Each repetition is deliberate, like a conversation with his body. I still need you. I still trust you. I will still care for you. The entire routine takes perhaps 20 minutes, half an hour at most. Yet these minutes are among the most valuable of his day, because André knows what science has now confirmed. After 60, men naturally lose muscle mass, a condition called sarcopenia. Left unchecked, it leads to weakness, falls, and a slow slide into dependency. But resistance training, even with the lightest weights or simple body movements, reverses this decline. Muscles grow stronger, bones denser, balance steadier. André does not think in terms of medical terminology. He feels it in his life. When he lifts a bag of groceries without strain, when he climbs the stairs to his bedroom without gripping the rail, When he rises from a chair in one smooth motion, he feels the quiet victory of his practice. To him, strength is not about power. It is about freedom. Freedom to live on his own terms, not bound by frailty. After his weights, he sometimes spreads a mat on the floor. He has learned a handful of yoga stretches, simple poses that lengthen his spine, open his hips, loosen his joints. On other days, he loops the resistance band across his hands and practices pulling exercises that strengthen his back. Always, he ends with deep breathing, standing tall, hands on his abdomen, drawing air in fully and releasing it slowly. In these breaths, he finds not only physical steadiness, but also calm. For men in America over 60, André's practice carries a vital lesson. Too often, older men shy away from exercise, fearing injury or believing it is too late to begin. They imagine crowded gyms, intimidating machines, or routines designed for younger bodies. But André shows us something gentler, something entirely achievable. A pair of light weights, a wall to push against, a chair for support. Even soup cans from the pantry are enough to begin. The point is not intensity, it is consistency. 10 push-ups against the kitchen counter, 10 squats, holding on to the back of a chair, a few curls, a few presses, repeated regularly. These movements may seem small, but their benefits accumulate silently. Muscles grow stronger, posture straightens, hands remain steady, legs remain firm, confidence grows. The reward of this consistency is not measured in numbers, but in moments. The moment you bend to tie your shoes without pain, the moment you lift your grandchild into your arms without hesitation, the moment you realize you can still carry your groceries, still walk without fear, still live without leaning on others for every step. These are the milestones that truly matter in old age. André often recalls his youth, when strength meant lifting heavy loads or enduring long hours of labor. Now, in his later years, he has come to understand something deeper. True strength is not about how much weight you can lift, but how long you can keep living fully. It is about preserving the ability to move freely, to care for yourself, to continue engaging with life. There is also a mental benefit. Each time André finishes his session, he feels a surge of accomplishment. He has fought back against decline, taken one more step toward freedom. Many men slip into resignation after 60, convinced weakness is inevitable. But André's discipline whispers another message. Aging is not surrender. Aging is an adaptation. For those hesitant to begin, his advice would be simple. Start small. Start today. Use what is around you. 10 minutes is enough. Over time, the body will respond, the muscles will remember, the bones will strengthen, and with each small gain, life feels a little easier, a little freer. When André finishes, he pours himself a glass of water and rests by the window. The afternoon sun casts soft patterns on the floor. His heart beats steady. His breath flows evenly. His body feels awake. These quiet victories are invisible to the world, but they are the foundation of his resilience. Strength training, for André, is not about fighting age, it is about partnering with it. It is about giving his body what it needs to keep moving forward, one day at a time. For men in America, especially those over 60, his example shines with clarity. Resilience is not forged in dramatic moments, but in simple, repeated acts of care. As the shadows lengthen and the harbor outside glows with evening light, André prepares for the final chapter of his day, the meal that will nourish him, the gratitude that will center him, and the quiet rest that will renew him for tomorrow. Evening, food, gratitude, and reflection. As the sun begins to set over Monaco, the cliffs and rooftops glow in soft golden light. The harbor reflects streaks of orange and violet, and the bustle of the city slows to a calmer rhythm. For André, evening is not just the end of a day, it is a sacred pause, a moment to nourish the body, settle the mind, and prepare the heart for rest. Dinner in his apartment is always simple, yet deeply satisfying. He often prepares a piece of fish, seasoned with fresh herbs, cooked slowly so that the flavors remain rich but light. Beside it, He serves vegetables from the market, roasted peppers, zucchini, or green beans dressed with olive oil. A serving of brown rice or a small roasted potato balances the meal. Sometimes he pours himself a glass of red wine, raising it slowly, savoring the warmth as he takes each sip. There is no rush. There is no need for excess. What matters is the balance, the quality, and the ritual of honoring his body one final time before nightfall. And there is dignity, too, because even though André lives alone, he sets the table properly. A plate, a fork, a cloth napkin. To him, the way you eat shapes the way you live. If you treat yourself as though you matter, he says, your body will remember that you do. When the meal is finished, André lingers for a moment in gratitude. Sometimes he bows his head in prayer. Sometimes he simply whispers, "Mercy, thank you for the day just lived." Gratitude is as much a nourishment as food itself. It lightens his spirit, lowers the weight of worry, and reminds him that every day carries blessings worth noticing. Later, he steps outside for a gentle stroll through the evening air. The streets are quieter now, porches lit with soft lamps, neighbors talking quietly on balconies. He walks not to exercise, but to let his body digest, to let his mind breathe. Each step feels like a way of closing the day, releasing what is no longer needed and carrying only peace into the night. When he returns home, André avoids the distractions of late-night television. Instead, he chooses quiet rituals. He reads a few pages of a book, often history or poetry. He writes briefly in his journal, noting what he is grateful for, what he learned, and what he hopes to remember. Sometimes he makes a short phone call to a grandchild, just to hear their voice. These habits keep his mind engaged and his heart connected, even in solitude. By 10 o'clock, André prepares for bed. His bedroom is cool, the lights dim, his routine calm. Sleep, he believes, is not just rest, it is medicine, and so he treats it with respect. Soon he drifts into steady sleep, ready to greet another dawn. For men over 60, André's evenings hold an important reminder. The way you close your day matters. Eating with care, practicing gratitude, moving gently, and resting deeply, these are not luxuries. They are the quiet anchors of a long, meaningful life. Before we move on, I'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you usually end your evenings? And what helps you feel most at peace before sleep? Share your answers in the comments I'll be reading. And if André's story inspires you, please remember to like, subscribe, and share this video so that more people can learn the power of small daily habits. Because André's day does not end here. From morning to night, his choices tell a bigger story, one that reveals the gentle but undeniable power of daily routines. In our final reflection, we'll gather all these lessons and see how men over 60, wherever they live, can carry them into their own lives. Final thoughts. When we look back over André's day, nothing appears extraordinary. There are no marathons, no complicated health programs, no miracle pills. What we see instead is a rhythm simple, steady, repeated with care. A morning meal of bread, olive oil, tomato, and fruit. A midday walk and laughter with friends. A short session of strength in the afternoon to keep his body steady. An evening meal prepared with dignity, closed with gratitude, and followed by rest. It is this rhythm, lived with intention, that has carried him with strength and clarity into his 85th year. And his life reminds us that longevity is not built in grand gestures, but in the smallest choices, made consistently over time. For men in America over 60, André's example offers both hope and invitation. You do not need to move to Monaco to live as he does. You do not need great wealth or special resources. What you need is willingness to make modest choices each day and to repeat them until they become part of who you are. Because longevity is not hidden in a secret formula. It is found in the olive oil you choose instead of butter, in the steps you take after lunch, in the handshakes and conversations you share with friends, in the light weights you lift at home, reminding your body that you still care. in the quiet prayer of gratitude before sleep. These choices may seem small, but when gathered together, they build a shield protecting the heart, sharpening the mind, and preserving independence. They carry you forward not only into more years, but into better years, where strength and peace remain within reach. André's life in Monaco shows us that aging does not mean decline. Yes, time brings change, but it also brings wisdom. It brings the chance to simplify, to focus on what truly matters, and to live with clarity and grace. His habits whisper a truth worth remembering. Aging is not surrender, it is adaptation. So as you reflect on his day, ask yourself, which of André's habits can you begin tomorrow? Perhaps a slice of bread with olive oil and tomato. Perhaps a short walk after lunch. Perhaps a quiet moment of gratitude at night. Whatever you choose, remember small steps, repeated faithfully, can transform the way you live. Before we close, I want to hear from you. Which of these daily habits do you think could make the biggest difference in your own life right now? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'll be there, reading and replying. And if André's story inspired you, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone you care about. Together, we can spread the message that life after 60 can still be full of strength, peace, and meaning. Because in the end, the secret to longevity is no secret at all. It is the gentle power of daily habits, lived with intention.